Welcome to episode number 4 from Global S&OP Community. I would like to thank you all, especially people who approached us last week and asked why didn't we go live last week. Honestly speaking, it was out of our hand, totally. And the reason that because my fabulous co-host Ahmed Hamamsi was not feeling well. So we are sending all greetings to all our fabulous community around the globe right now. Ahmed, I know that many people right now, they want to understand how's your health and everything is happening with you. So tell us, please.
Hello and welcome everybody, first of all, and fourth episode of the Global S&OP Community. And thank you, Ahmed. Again, we come for the fourth episode. Yeah, I had some health issues, as you were saying, and getting better. And of course, everyone knows that it's a little bit hard times with everybody during COVID times and everything. So we must stay safe. I must stay away from family. I must be in quarantine, even if I have doubt, if I have something. So that's why we were away last week, but now everything's better and we are back. And I see a lot of our friends already is joining. But of course, as you know, the global S&OP community is all about the knowledge that you don't find in books. And Khaled, let's welcome all our people that are coming in.
Sure. So we have our lovely friend Mohidol. He's asking.
Hi, Mohidol.
Yes. Thank you for joining here. We have our brother Shadi Jackie. Hi, Ahmed. Hi, Ahmamsi. Thank you.
Hi, Shadi.
For being here also. We have our friend Andreen. Thank you.
Amazing, Andreen. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Again, we have our friend
Taslim. Thank you for joining.
Brother, and we have also our friend Ricky. Thank you for being here. So again, Hamamsi and all our beautiful audience that are hearing to us, just are listening to us right now. Our mission to remind you about our global S&OP community is to build a global community around the world where supply chain, marketing, sales, trade marketing, and finance we can collaborate all together, share stories, knowledge, struggles, and experience, because we believe that everyone has a unique voice that should be heard. And from those experiences, we can benefit all together and change literally the world of S&OP. Today, we will discuss one of the most resisting factors that oppose all kinds of fundamentals of S&OP. This factor can devastate everything, not only in the S&OP, but also in the business.
Yes.
This is people's behavior.
Yes.
And our guest today is a professor in managing people's behavior. He played many roles in an executive levels in the business. And one of them, two of them, I believe it's managing the conflict, sales and supply chain. Can you imagine sales and supply chain in that 2 points?
Very big conflict in S&OP, of course, yes.
It's very conflicting. That's why we will have two massive values today. So let's welcome our guest, please, right now. Our guest is
أهلين أحمد. السلام عليكم. Hi Ahmed.
How are you?
Great, I'm well, thanks.
Glad to see you
both.
Pleasure to have you today. I think one of the most compelling topics I see it from a real experience in the S&OP, it's people behavior. Before jumping into this topic, for sure, it will be a pleasure if you don't mind, if you can share about your amazing experience in the S&OP and sales, so people they can understand how massive experience that you have.
Great. My first experience with S&OP was in 2003 when I set up demand planning process before the full S&OP process. Then 2004, 2005, setting up the S&OP process for 6 countries in the Gulf. So that was the first immersion into S&OP as manager. So basically working with all the functions really to understand their requirement, brief them about the process, the tool, and ensure that their requirements are covered and that they buy into the process, and then building it up step by step. But later on in my career, I mean, it was a great opportunity for me to sit in the S&OP as supply chain director for a few years, but also in other years as customer development director, which is sales director. So I was able to see both sides of the discussion and the requirements. Exactly. And to be more understanding.
Yeah, I believe it's you know the conflict comes. I would say that you play two roles, two major roles, and I think inside the company, which is the supply chain and the sales, the biggest two conflict in the company. So the first thing in my mind, and before I jump into the question, I would like to ask anyone, guys, please react with us, engage with us. Any question that you have in your mind related to the behavior or some experience that you have in the supply chain inside your S&OP, please don't hesitate to ask us right now. So the first question, Faisal, how to deal with cultural challenges and people resistance to the S&OP, and I believe that you have a rich experience in that point. So mainly the culture and the people resistant to S&OP.
Yeah, I think anyway, I mean, even without S&OP, I think the managers and the leaders needs to be really conscious about I mean, what is the culture which is in the company, because that will impact its ways of working, you know, its performance and so on. But I think one of the things that help in terms of getting the S&OP up and running smoothly, or at least gradually in a successful way, is listening to people, understanding their issues, their challenges, being clear about, I mean, what are their targets and how do they operate, what do they focus on, and seeing how S&OP really can help them, whether they are in the supply or whether in demand or in finance or in marketing or in customer marketing, and seeing how it all fits together and support them, and set clearly the expectations from them as well. So it's not just about the process or the tool, but also being clear with the team members about what is expected from them in terms of whether it's discipline, whether it's listening, whether it's respect, whether it's clarity, you know, and enable them in a structured way to work in that way. Okay, so how they can deal with trade-off, how can they deal with priority management, how they can deal with conflicts, how they can express and communicate. Okay, it's really a long journey. It's not something that will work in just one meeting or in 1 year, but it's a whole journey. And by understanding where are the strengths and the weaknesses, then the leaders will be able to, you know, address each point on its own.
I agree, Faisal, because it's a journey. This is a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people think that if they buy in or get something new or like software or something, they can change it like in a second. If people were not working with S&OP, if they get a system or something, they think it will work by itself. But as you said, it's people at the end who will be managing time frames and responsibilities and collaboration between different departments. And every department should understand that this comes to serve the whole organization and to serve them, to make them look better, to make work look better, to achieve the targets, all that. So it's a journey, as you said, that does not take 1 or 2 meetings. It maybe can take 4 and 5 meetings, sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year, even to master this sales and operation planning process.
Exactly. I mean,
yeah.
One of the things that really helped me various times is stakeholder interviews. So really to identify the key stakeholders, and it's not by level. I mean, it could be across various levels in the organization, but really people who can influence the S&OP and interview them, you know. How do they see the S&OP process going? What do they see as strengths, as weaknesses? What do they expect from the process? Is it meeting it or not? What do they suggest to improve it, and so on? And by incorporating all this like 360 view and seeing how to you know, address these points, then those stakeholders will become supporters, will become facilitators, and so on. And even if during these interviews some of the stakeholders appear to be resistors, then to be able how to address some of their points and get them on our side, or at least reduce the noise that would come from them until the process is really moving.
100%.
I love the point of listening, because listening, effective listening, and especially in the S&OP, it's very essential. Why I'm saying this, because I believe also S&OP, it's like innovation. And why most innovation, it got failed, because you're not innovating for the customer. You're innovating for yourself. And most failures of the S&OP is not implemented well, because most people, they focus on the tools and the process itself, and they ignore the biggest factor, which is people. They don't think about that. I need to have the best tool. I need to have the best technology. I need to have, and ignoring what people needs. So if you ignore the biggest part, I believe that 80% from the S&OP, it's all about people behavior, capabilities, understanding. So if you don't invest on your people, for sure nothing will happen in the S&OP itself. It's the engine of it. Yeah. We have our lovely audience start to come again. So
yes.
We have
Ahmed, I'm seeing some amazing people that I've worked with, just now, Yusuf, Elias. Yeah, great team members. Wow, really, really glad to see them here. Ahmed Bajnaid.
Yes, wow. All people are there. We have Amina. She's saying, "Hi, thank you, Amina."
Hi, Amina. Thank you for coming in.
Our lovely brother, Muhammad. Hi, lovely people.
Ahlan, Muhammad.
Thank you. Our brother also, Dibian. Hello from India. Great to see you, brother. Thank you so much. Our friend Sulaiman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum, Sulaiman.
Salam, Sulaiman. We have also Muhammad al-Musallami, Baha Mizyat Salahat. Great to see you, good brother. Thank you.
Muhammad.
Thank you. We have Elias. Salam Faisal, great to see you. For sure, he knows you.
Definitely, yeah, we work together. Ahlan, Elias. Marhaba. Great seeing you as well.
We have Ahmed Bajnaid. Great to see you, team. Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you.
So we have our friend Rami Said.
Hi, Rami.
Great to see you, brother. He's doing an amazing job also on LinkedIn with his content. So we have Mehmet. Salam. I cannot say it, but salam. Salam. Great to see you.
I think from Turkey, I think. How are you?
Arkadish Bashka.
Suleiman as well here. Marhaba, Suleiman.
Yeah.
Aziz.
Mashallah, I have a big supporting fan from Algeria, so that's great to see here. Yeah.
We have Aziz Abazi. Good evening, Faisal Khan and the brother Ahmed. Thanks for live. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Aziz.
Thank you also. We have our friend Taibaji. Great to see you.
Hi, Taibaji. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. We have Rahaf, and we will jump into the next. So Rahaf playing the blaming game is mainly what I see.
Ahmed Suleiman is asking if it's recorded. It is going to be recorded, isn't it?
Yes.
So she's speaking about the supply chain and sales. That's why we have the maestro today. Our Faisal
Khan played the same. The two. Yes, he played the two roles.
Psychology, behavior, people behavior. So whatever you have, any question or any thing that you are facing it into your day-to-day operations, please ask. Feel free, ask, and I guarantee you will have great values today, inshallah.
I agree first with Rahaf, because also I lived this, but we will get from Faisal how he faced this, because he played on both sides. So like Rahaf is saying, sometimes you'll find the production saying we have the capacity, but we don't have the orders. So this is like the blame game. Where are the orders for sales? Or sales getting the orders very late, or like we were discussing, they were not saying about the promotions or not giving any alert of the promotions. They're saying we want the things tomorrow, or declining any idea of lead times and all that. So I'm sure that Rahaf is talking about this, and I'm sure she faced a lot of issues. That's why she's talking about that.
Yeah.
Faisal, tell us how did you resolve this? One side from the supply chain and one side from the sales. What you were doing, and what behaviors I can say you try to attack to resolve these issues.
Yeah, I think it. It's variety of behaviors, and it accumulated over time. I don't think it came at once. At the start, still, when I was in supply chain, my key focus was really on supply chain. So I think there was that bias, which was really natural, and how to get the KPIs of S&OP to be right rather than the business KPIs, which is really about growth and about the top line and meeting the strategy. But I think as I matured in the business, then the key focus really switched in order to say, okay, what is the company priority? In certain categories, it's about top line. In certain categories, it's about bottom line. In certain categories, it could be about distribution and market share. And sometimes in multi-country organization, it could be about specific goals in some countries and other goals in other countries. And I think this is where the focus of S&OP moves, rather than it's about operational plans, which is just about scheduling and getting materials and thinking about the changes in the production plan. So I think getting the overall S&OP process, which is strategic for the long term, to be clear in terms of what is the company direction, do we have an operational plan which is really linked to make that happen, and do we have also a long-term plan which makes it happen? I think this is one of the things which is essential. But for me, removing the biases from supply chain into sales came in a 9 months period where I was double hatting between country director, managing sales, and supply chain director. So at that time, I had to have both. And for some time, I distanced myself from the supply chain role, managing the S&OP, in order to focus on the sales part. But then when I started saying, okay, now I need to give the demand, okay, and I'm responsible for the demand and the long-term plan from the market, but also on the other side, I'm the one responsible for the supply. So I really needed to move these biases and to say, okay, it's not really about just getting the supply chain KPI right, and it's not just about having, what the sales want, because I'm hating myself and I'm hating the business, and this is when it really struck me. And it was about clarity, okay? Clarity in terms of, what do I want in terms of products? Why do I want it? If I'm going to promote something, then, this is what I will be promoting. It impacts the investment that I need to get, and making it very clear. But also expressing it clearly. And I worked with a team that was not blaming me if things does not work right. So I think this is one of the things that really helped, is that when we work as a team and things fail, but then there is no personal blame because the assumptions are very clear. And when things fail, we know why it failed. And then we put a recovery plan for it. And we go and execute that plan rather than just looking for excuses. I think this is when a positive momentum takes place. So I think looking for opportunities, putting clear plans in place, clear assumptions, and not blaming is one thing which helps. But there are other elements like listening to team members. Sometimes great ideas come from team members, incorporating that, create engagement, okay? And then it creates success and more positive momentum.
Can I do something, Faisal?
Please, Khaled.
This is how that's why really I cannot do anything because of the mouse. I can make it like this, but it's so really it's all about. Go ahead, Faisal.
معلش Ahmed, go ahead.
No, please go.
Another thing also that I got as a learning from this situation is to learn not to judge another function, okay? By being in the other function, I started understanding the challenges that they face, the uncertainty which is there in the sales, okay? And that it's very, very difficult for them to give a number, okay? They can give you a range, but to give a specific number and to not to hold them accountable, but to hold the knife is something impossible. But, sales can give a range. Some promotion worked in the past might not work again. Some customers, promised and they don't deliver. So there are so many challenges which happen. So also to be understanding for the challenges of the other function or team member, rather than just labeling them as, that they change their mind, that they don't know what's happening, or to label marketing as, just giving high numbers or wanting to launch new products, but actually there is genuineness in each function, okay? And each team member, they have, you know, specific goals, but also specific personalities. You know, some, by understanding that there are some people who like the truth, would work with numbers, would work with facts, would work with analysis. This is a specific type of people. Other type of people, they are people who like to take decisions and they like to judge and they are impatient, okay? But there are other type of people who are visionary. They like to get potentials and to maybe exaggerate sometimes, okay? By understanding that there are different personalities, also I can connect with them according to their personality rather than just telling them to work according to my own. And then to find way to align together and to find common ways. And if there are, you know, conflicts, how to find the trade-off in between.
Yes.
Wow, so
it works sometimes it doesn't work. So it's not something that works all the time. But I think it's to stay focused on the course and on the direction. This is the key thing for me.
Exactly, and developing the understanding, like you're saying, that this is how it is. It's nothing is perfect, and you will not reach perfection with it. There will always be imperfections, and it's always weighing between the risks and opportunities, and taking some risks, leaving some things that you cannot fulfill or you cannot deliver. This is normal, and it happens in all kind of organizations. Doesn't matter if this is a world-class organization or a small or medium organization. This is the usual practice. This is what people should understand, I believe.
Yeah. And I think it's all about also the organization, how the organization is promoting the culture itself. Because if the culture of the organization, it's all about blaming, everyone will be victim. Everyone will play the victim mode, and it's not my responsibility. So I believe it's all about also the executive role, because I guarantee you that if the executives, they have this kind of blaming, the magnitude of blaming when you go down the hierarchy itself, it comes bigger and bigger and bigger. So the things, I believe the change doesn't come from bottom up, it comes top down. So that culture, credibility, discipline, clarity, all of this, I believe this is one of the engines that will move the S&OP into the right direction. So we have we're coming back to our lovely audience. So we have Yusuf. It's a pleasure to see you again, Faisal. He knows you.
Ahlan, Yusuf. Really happy to see him here.
Thank you. We have our Taibaji friend. The whole process will go all other departments for sure.
Ahmed, I see a very nice question from Mahmoud Rida.
We will go.
I know. I've seen it. Mahmoud.
Yeah, it's really exciting question. Ahlan Rida, great seeing you again.
Mahmoud is a great finance, huh?
Yes.
Ahlan Dareen, yeah.
So we have
Hi, Dareen.
Bonjour, Dareen. So we have Ambrim also. Yes, continuous engagement with stakeholders is important to manage a balanced business ecosystem for sure. I will jump because of the constraints of the time, guys. So please ask questions, and I will jump into your questions step by step. So excuse us if we jump into some greetings or something like that, but we will go into the questions because of the sake of the time. So the first question from Nadine. She's asking, what can I do if commercial director plays two roles, supply chain and sales roles? Is the solution to make demand planning as a part of sales department? It's confusing.
Faisal, this is yours, I think.
Yeah, but this is the thing, is that somehow demand planning can be split into two elements. Okay, we can say that the process of forecasting, the tools itself, can be provided by supply chain, but the real forecasting and providing the input needs to be from the sales. Okay, sales and customer marketing. So I mean, it depends on the organization. It would be better to have demand planning on its own, but if the organization is small or if it doesn't have the full structure really to support it, as long as the forecast, the assumptions are clear and reviewed and monitored, and the accountability is there, then experiment with it, you know. But if the sales director and supply chain director are one I mean, what is it doing in your organization? For me, it worked at that time, but I had to move away from playing active role in the supply chain, okay? Because it's very challenging really to play both the supply and the demand. It's better to have them split. I mean, that's the right thing, not to combine them, unless if it's just for temporary emergency thing.
Yes, and I believe that if you put the demand planning, with my respect, I don't mean any harm feelings, but if you put the demand planning under sales, it will be too much biased. Why I'm saying this, the forecast will be over biased because at the end of the day, I want to sell more. And that when you come to the point and look into the inventory levels, you will see many challenges on that point. That's why I believe demand planning should be the only department which is unbiased. We have history, we have drivers, we have the build-up, all of this. We speak about not too much facts, but assumptions. But once you give it under the sales, I believe that it will be very biased. To close
Yeah,
the
but then when I was in sales and I was giving a forecast, I was really accountable for delivering within plus minus 5 or 10%. If I don't deliver that, then I'm really under huge pressure. Okay. So it's not that I can just give any number to make it available for supply.
I think you're unique, Faisal, because you played both before, because you started supply chain, so you understand the constraints and what's happening with the material if you give high bias and what's happening with the stocks. But sometimes people who are not with the supply chain background, they really get the forecast has a very high bias. And sometimes they find the inventory will jump very high, and they're trying to secure the market with more stocks. And I think this is what Ahmed is highlighting, because we faced these issues with some people, with some departments and different companies, different organizations. I think this is what Ahmed was saying about. But really, Faisal, it's good that it's amazing, of course, that you managed to keep the balance.
But that accountability actually came from the managing director, who was holding the sales director accountable for the forecast that they give. So I think this is a behavior from the top of the pyramid of S&OP, really not to let it loose and to to let the sales director just give any numbers and then get away with it.
That's why I think most people, they have the capability for understanding. Just they think that we put numbers, you will be able to bring these numbers. But what after these numbers? I bring this to the stocks. What after? And then start to play the blame game. This SQs, it's low shelf lifetime. Why did you bring it? And you come, like playing, this Walt Disney effect. Why coming back to come justify? Do you remember this forecast when you give me this forecast? Yeah, it was overbiased. So that's why I'm saying that I believe that this it depends on the maturity of people and maturity of the organization itself.
Sure.
But I believe demand planning should be my humble point of view.
Sure.
Should be separated from sales for sure.
Definitely, it is separate. Yeah, that's for sure.
We'll jump into the next question. So we have the next question from our friend Mohidol. What are the best resources for learning more about S&OP? Okay.
Maybe both of you can give more fresh resources about S&OP.
I'll send you many books, Mohidol, after this episode. I'll give you 2 and 1 course also at Udemy. You can go and register on that point.
Yeah. But to Mohidol also, these are all guidelines of the process. But as we said, S&OP is more than books. That's why it's knowledge that you cannot find in books. That's why we're talking about that, and we're having our people, our guests, because managing it in different industries, you face different problems and all that, and this problem-solving skills and decision-making skills, it comes with practice and experience. But certainly, the books will help you to understand the guidelines of the process.
Yeah, fundamentals.
Definitely, and there are skills which are not process related, like as you mentioned. I mean, problem solving, conflict resolution, building alignments. You have also a need for understanding of financial numbers, okay, which is very critical. Also, basic understanding of factories, how do they operate, capacities, about procurement, lead times. So it's really end to end.
Very big topic. Thank you, Faisal. Thank you, Momsi. Our next question is from Mohammed Ghunaim. He's asking, ignoring the S&OP meetings from the stakeholders is behavior that affect the S&OP journey negatively. To avoid this, the S&OP should be interesting for all the stakeholders, and they, for sure, Mohammed. Because if the accountability is not there, nothing will be driven. I'm telling you, it's just ticking the box. It will be like that. The next question is from
Definitely. Yeah.
Bashwandis Mahmoud Reda. Asking, what is your advice for finance to play a more vital role in the S&OP?
Yeah. I mean, definitely, finance is, if the co-pilot, or sometimes supply chain is the co-pilot, finance could be the pilot, but really it's a process which is run by both supply chain and finance collectively. And we can say that supply chain can lead the resource which is related to product availability, while finance really is leading the resources which comes to money, okay, and investment. So, finance really can play that role in terms of the long-term plans, in terms of investment in brands, in categories, in factories, and so on, and the implication of the performance on that, and giving advices on where to invest, where to watch out. Is the operational plan, or is the S&OP plan aligned with the financial direction of the company and the strategies of the company or not? So many different roles, which really I think finance can not just add value, but impact the company performance significantly.
Totally.
Where to invest and when to invest.
100%.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, Faisal, I believe also, it's not about cash up. It's not about taking volumes and just translate these volumes into currency, dollars, whatever its income statement. It's all about, I believe it's about the business partnering attitude. So how you can go and speak to your business partners, understand their challenges, how can you listen to them, how can you learn from them? Because the more that you invest time with them, understanding their challenges, you will be credible with them, and you will be credible. They will be also credible with you, and you will take the category into the next level. So you will start to see many things that you didn't see before. Because I believe you will see most finance, the best thing that we will build more provisions, put everything provisions. But when you will do all of this, that's why I believe it's about listening, learning, staying in one table, all the category team or the business team, and play this major role. This is my point of view.
Definitely.
Okay, so we'll jump into the next question. Yes, we have Sliman. So building knowledge around the S&OP process for all the employees, R&R, I think, run rate or benefits of the process, inputs, outputs, is the key to leverage the process in the best way and to make everyone in the company committed to contribute. What are, I think it's too much with the question, I cannot see, but let me, I will, what are your advice to engage colleagues in the process, even though who are not direct stakeholders?
Yeah. I mean, when I look at S&OP, it's really very challenging to see someone that does not impact. If we look at, factory employees, they impact the S&OP. Supply planning, they do. Demand planning, they do. Customer marketing, sales, finance. So it's almost everyone, So everyone has a role to play at a varying degree. So I think it's critical from the beginning to make people aware about their role and their impact into the S&OP, because maybe some people are new into the organization and they think, okay, S&OP is a big process which is really far away, or it's a meeting at director's level, or certain managers, they attend it and that's it. But actually creating awareness about the role of each person and how they can impact the S&OP is something which is really critical, because someone who does production scheduling impact S&OP, okay, at somehow. Someone who orders material will do that. Someone who delivers to customer will do that, will have an implication. So I think this awareness will create that engagement. That would be one thing. And listening to them, probably they are facing a challenge with the current structure or the current process or, specific reports or analysis and so on. So I think listening is very critical, and to find venues to get that listening done, because it's very difficult to go and speak to everyone. So maybe at some point is to create groups of 5 or 10 people and speak about specific process and to gain input, and then build, a sort of like, okay, what do we need to tackle? Okay, maybe we'll find that actually it's working well in this area, but not on the other area, or with this team, but not the other team. So I think this is one of the things which really needs to be done, is for managers to connect with their teams and to keep that engagement there. And also to see if there is any behavior which is creating disconnection. Okay, if there is just pressure without reward, that can create a disconnection and disengagement. If there is a blame, if there is no allowance for risk taking, if there is no room for support or coaching within the team, then that can make people feel unsafe, and to say, okay, I'm not going to take risk. I will just stick to the guidelines or to the process, and I will just do it like that, and this will kill the engagement and the creativity. So I think it's really to be connected with the team and to see, okay, what's working and what needs to be addressed.
Great.
Thank you, Faisal, so much. We have the next question from Muhammad. He's asking, what are the key behaviors, skill set for supply chain resources to partner the business landing an effective S&OP process? It's a very nice question. It's very nice question.
I think a variety of skills. So, for example, planning is something which is really essential. Okay, so sometimes maybe new team members or old team members would get into positions, but they don't have previous planning expertise, and it's really essential to upskill them. Okay, whether they're in demand planning or in supply planning or even in customer service, but to ensure that the person doing the job has the technical skill required for them to do the job well. Because if the person does not have the skill, they might learn it on the job, but they will not be confident, they will not do it well, they might do lots of mistakes and so on. So it's really essential to identify what are the on-job skills which are required to do that functionally, and to ensure that they are fully operational in that skill. So this is one thing. But also basic skills like listening, like how to give feedback, how to communicate clearly, okay, without being aggressive or without being just passive, okay. Other behaviors, for example, is how to instill discipline within the team. So I think discipline is really essential to get the S&OP operational. So I think these are some of the, behaviors.
I agree. It reminded me sometime we did this and we started the process and nobody had clarity with we started doing something like the RACI metrics, for example, for responsible, accountable, who should be informed. And this created some kind of engagement between the team and started to give people like guidance, what they should do in certain levels, in certain area of function or certain meetings of the S&OP in different levels. This really helps. So I agree with you. It's about defining the responsibilities and helping people, guiding people through the journey.
Yeah, I believe also in a senior level, senior managers, if you are shuffling between roles or maybe someone is coming outside to the company, all of that, I believe it's all about how you manage your people down, because most people they want to play the joker role. So I know everything, I play everything. What I love, what you said, Faisal, it's about listening. So I can even the technical background, for me it's essential, but not to the extent that I will spend all my time on these technicalities. So listening to your people, because I believe when you go up in the leadership or the levels of leadership, your technicality shouldn't be like before. So I see most people, they think technically too much on a higher level and ignore what they people need, what are the challenges that they face on a higher level. So they invest too much on that point and they ignore. So you will see that the function itself, it's devastated. So they are working always in a firefighting mood, operational mood, and then ended up that we are not satisfying or fulfilling the business requirements. This is the thing.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people said listening. It's very powerful. Listening and understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listening definitely on one side, and also communicating priorities very clearly, communicating performance regularly, and what's working, what's not working. Creating forums or discussions for learning from previous implementations or from activities and so on. I think this will enable people, because sometimes you find, for example, managers who say, okay, I mean, what is this guy talking? Why is he talking like that? Because the person keeping lots of information in their head and not communicating the priorities of the organization very clearly, that, okay, maybe for the coming months, it's actually about this channel, about this category, and maybe we're going to make a trade-off with the other category, okay, and maybe with this channel. And if this is just done in a boardroom and then the actions are communicated to the team member to execute, the team members will say, okay, what's happening? One day it's like this, another day it's like that. But actually to communicate clearly the direction, if there is any change or if there is any tweak, and the priorities very clearly, then the engagement will be there from the team member rather than the shock and the disengagement. So I think that plays a role.
Communication.
I agree.
Very essential, especially what we face if you have an order comes and when you start to ask at a higher level why it comes and you don't have justifications. خلاص, that next time I will not ask, I will take the order, I will not do anything. But sometimes if you take the order from a higher level, you have to understand why it's happening. Because I believe if you don't understand the why and people come and ask you, down you, under you, why it's happening like this and you don't have justification, just do it. Please. Don't speak to me. Do it. This is not the good attitude. Next time I will not ask. Maybe I see myself, I see that there is something, maybe it's a tempo, but I will not speak. So because it didn't give me the room to speak. That's why it's all about the behavior.
And this is why when you put cross-functional team together, okay, from marketing, customer marketing, sales, supply chain, finance, in the same place together, they will communicate more. The issues will rise and they will discuss it. And that will create more understanding between the team members and more frequent communication rather than disconnection. And this could help also in resolving things quickly and creating a better teamwork rather than just in different places.
Definitely. So
when possible.
We have another question.
Sure.
Cassia. So she's asking.
Cassia.
Do you know Cassia? I think yes. Okay. So having implemented S&OP process in many markets, what would be your recommendation for a business which would be recently implementing it to optimize it in the fastest way? This question also.
Yeah, I think if having people engaged, this is one thing that will increase the success probability from the beginning. So that's engagement, I mean, by awareness, by training, by listening, by involvement, by clarity of roles and responsibility, like what Ahmed said, okay? By maybe hand-holding at the beginning in terms of the progress and what's working well and what needs to be improved, okay? Giving that feedback loop on a regular basis without blame. So I think it's creating that safe environment that this is a new process, it's complex, and communicating regularly, meeting regularly about what's working, rewarding for the right behavior. I think this is one thing that can work, and trusting that term process. If we implement S&OP and we think that it's going to give us next month's sales target, then that's wrong. It's a long-term integrated business decision-making process and business planning process. So I think also this is something that needs to be done from the top. And I think also having the clarity of why the company is implementing S&OP. And this is really essential, because if it's implementing it for the wrong reasons, then it will not function for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, totally agree. Defining also where we are and understanding exactly where the organization is in terms of its forecast bias, in terms of its functionalities, in terms of its communication levels, all that, and making a roadmap to see where we want to go and giving it time. Like you're saying, it's not a magic wand or a magic stick that you are going to implement from the first meeting and get everything right. So it's a journey. Yes, 100%.
I will ask you, Faisal, a 1 million question. $1 million. I was because I think this is one of the pains that it's appearing in most organizations. So, what came into my mind inside the S&OP, monthly S&OP cycle itself, I believe that changing the number inside the month, it's something I believe it's natural. So you see that the numbers is flowing here up, down, and the flowing of communication, corridor talks, something like that. We need to increase here, we need to do there, we need more extra stocks, all of this. So I will speak from a supply chain point of view, because I believe that this is one of the challenges from supply chain point of view. If you face this when you were there, if you face something like changing the numbers inside the month, how you will respond to it? How will you be able to be flexible on that, or you will be rigid and guys, no, we have to stick on that? How will you be managing this? Because I believe that you have the two experience, sales and supply chain.
Yeah. Okay. I think here we'll ensure that S&OP is a long-term planning process. That's the key thing. Okay. And changing plans within the month, this is much more tactical. Okay. And first thing I would ask, what is the rationale behind changing the number? So I think if there is clarity about why the number will be changed, and if this is aligned with the business goal, okay, and priorities, then I would see, okay, if sometimes it's very easy. I mean, a number is changed and it would not cost really supply chain much to do it, because the line has the capacity, the materials are available locally, and so on. So it's not really that much difficult to change it, and it's possible. But it's good to understand why is it, and to collectively agree on that change. And if it's a challenge, then to come with a trade-off, okay, and to say, okay, if this change is required and you want, for example, double the volume from this SKU, is there going to be a reduction on another SKU, or is there something that can be reduced? Or maybe I can give you this SKU, but because it's on the same line, I will have to reduce maybe something else. Which of these you are willing to reduce? I think having that conversation would enable parties to come out hopefully with a solution. Okay, but if it's just, then we are ignoring a lot of other opportunities which are there, or trade we made, and makes both really move forward. But if it's something that happens regularly, then we need to come back and to say, okay, is there something that we are missing in our demand planning process that needs to be taken care of? Okay, because a change on a specific product that happens once, but if it happens more than once, then we need to see and understand why is it happening regularly. Okay, and what are the costs? Because also to come back, I mean, in some cases, if there is an extra demand, and that's really, I think the S&OP manager and the S&OP team, they usually, part of their role is to play with conflicting requirements. Okay, sales would want more product, but supply chain want to reduce the inventory. Okay, finance would want to really reduce the spend and the investment. So you find that all these things can be conflicting, but the beauty is really to find where are the sweet spots between all these conflicting requirements, okay, where in some products, it's about reduction of covers and supply chain will be happy. In some other products, it's about increasing the cover because there is uncertainty, and the sales, whenever they get extra requirement, they can go and sell. And in some other products, it's about reducing investment on maybe low profit SKUs, but investing more on some other products that will create growth, and it will make marketing and finance happy. So it's really about having that conversation rather than just about being rigid, is that I want to reduce my stock, and the other one, no, I want more. But actually we have huge portfolio that we can play with, and it's about identifying, surgically what to implement at each product or each category or each channel or each country, and creating that conversation and discussion where all of us, we really feel that we added value cross-functionally, and at the end, collectively, we got into the top line and the bottom line of the organization and the market share that we want.
Okay, just a question also came into my mind. I know at this point when there is, I would say, change in the demand itself, it creates some frustration, especially if you have, if you don't have stocks. I would say your norms or cycle stock, safety stocks, maybe you don't have these covered, and you will end up with a service level issue. If at this point, if how you are communicating this, especially I'm saying from the supply side, because disturbing the plan, I believe that in the supply planning and the factory side, it's not easy. I'm saying this because I know this.
You live this.
Yes. When
can you explain it again, Ahmed? The question?
What I'm saying that it's easy for sure from a business point of view, just to change the numbers and to do the trade-off. But when it comes to communication with the supply side, when you go to the supply planning or production planning and the factory side, how you will be able to communicate with them, because it's frustrating, honestly, when you have a submission in the forecast and when you have this spike in the demand, change in the forecast in the short term, because this is affecting the whole cycle, talking master production, scheduling, MRP, all of this cycle. So how you communicate this in a good way with in the supply side when you used to be in the supply chain?
Yeah. I mean, I recall we did one exercise about responsiveness, and we identified clearly the responsiveness of the supply chain, by product category and by SKU. And that enabled us really to say, okay, if additional order of double or triple comes on this specific product, our responsiveness can be in 1 week, because there is huge capacity free, which is on the mold. The line has free capacity, and we can respond. But on other products, the response, if there is just a 50% increase, was going to be maybe 2 months, because it's from a different factory with a lead time, which is, a fixed period of 2 months and so on. So I think having that understanding and working with the team to understand what is the responsiveness level by SKU, created that understanding within the team of where we can push and where it's actually limited, or where actually this product has high uncertainty, but the responsiveness is very long in terms of timing. So we need to find the solution. Okay, and the solution could be on, working with the factory to increase the capacity, or maybe sometimes about increasing our stock. Okay, because increasing our stock on this SKU, it will not impact maybe the margins that high, but it will create opportunity for growth. So it's really about playing with all these factors, the resources of money, resources of capacity, about timing, about goals, and how to play with them. But also when I communicate, is not to come and force the factory and the supply chain team to say, okay, I have extra order tomorrow, please produce it, change all your plans, because they worked on specific assumptions and lines, and to bring it as an opportunity, that this is really an opportunity for us, and if we get it, we're going to get extra sales of X million, for example. So please, can we work together to find the best way? And if we can do it without a compromise on other products, that's great. But if there has to be a compromise, can you please share what's that? Because then maybe, we can make a compromise, because the other product could be a low margin, or it could be a product with availability at the distribution level, but maybe not availability with us. So it's really about communicating clearly and in a gentle way, because at the end, it's not about forcing people to do their job. But if we explain to them why we want that change, then I think they will be part of the solution rather than resisting the change.
Yeah, this part, I think it's very essential, because if I don't understand why this change is happening and what will be the impact on the business if I do that, no one, it's just like an order. But if you give people, what I love and what you said, if you give people clarity and communicate it very well, I believe people, they will help you more and more and more.
And it made the team proud. It made them proud after the change. So instead of being like upset about the change, actually, it was a challenge that they were able to put a solution in place, and it showed them something new, that they are responsive, that they are creative, and that they have a capability maybe that it was not visible to them before. And after delivering it, they feel more proud, more confident, and rewarded sometime for it.
I think, yes, you hit here the jackpot. The team must be rewarded and must feel appreciated, so that if this happens and it will happen and it will come again in the meetings,
yeah.
They will be excited to do that again and feel proud that they are part of the decision making and they are part of the organization, and they understand why they are doing this. It's not like orders, as Ahmed is saying.
Yeah.
Great point.
And sometimes they can't. Sometimes they don't deliver it in full. For example, these extra orders, and there are different responses. I can respond to them as that, being upset, or that they are not delivering their commitment and so on. But there is a different view, which actually this was unplanned change, and instead of delivering 100% of that, they were able to deliver a 50% of it or a 70%, and that's really appreciated, and it's great. So also not to be a perfectionist here and to just put huge pressure on people thinking that they will perform better next time. Actually, they will break down after that.
100%.
Because when you start to blame people, when I give you whatever, I'm very clear. And I told you that I will try to do my best. I give, let's say, 80%, 90%, and I deliver 50%. And you came back and told me, why didn't you? Why didn't you? Why didn't you? Next time, I will, the easiest thing that I will do, buffer. What I will do, I will buffer. I will not give you anything. Why? It's all about appreciation. This is the game. Appreciate what people are doing. We have a lovely question from Muhammad. Muhammad Madani, he's asking, what are the new developments of the S&OP cycle from the professional company's point of view?
Yeah, I think, see, the S&OP, it has part which is about data collection. It has part about data analysis, but there is a big part which is about execution of actions, okay? So I think what needs to be done, and this is the direction for many companies, automate the data collection and presentation and analysis as much as possible, okay? But allow more time for the execution, which is in the market, because this is where the results take place. So, I think this is one of the key things, is how to automate the first parts as much as possible to allow team members to be in the market and to execute as much as possible, and to give that feedback loop if something is not working, to feed it and to change it very very quickly. So this would be my input, but Ahmed can share.
No, I agree. We need more time for the decision making process, and to involve people in the decision making process. You don't want people to be like analysis paralysis, like we're saying, or making a lot of data collection exercises and analyzing the data and all that. Yes, this is where the tools will help us in making quickly the analysis, and then we will look at the data and try make sure that the data is cleansed, or any outliers are removed from the data, and then we can take the decisions, or come the management, if middle management, for example, they come with the trade-offs, and they start to make some decisions, and really the big decisions that they cannot, that will cost the company millions, or that will big opportunities. This is where they need to raise it to the executives to take a decision about it. So I think, yes, I agree with you. The direction is towards moving towards the decision-making area quickly, and the execution, yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's totally 1000% right, because as Faisal said, it's all about collecting data, analyze data, execute data. And what I see from most companies, what they do, they collect data, they analyze data, they report data, and they don't execute. They just, we need to digitalize everything, and then we see real time. So guys, what are you doing by this? What you will do by this? Digitalize. We are digitalizing. Thanks God. So what, at the end of the day, it's about all execution. That's why you'll see from most S&OP that it's implemented in the right way. They're working on how many hours you're spending inside your meetings, how you can reduce the number of hours, man-hours inside the S&OP, and how we can make everything effective that will take you to the business strategies and business objectives. And at the same time, you're spending less time on that. Not just digitalize and stay in the office. You have to execute, as Faisal said. This is a lovely one. We have the last question.
Yes.
I think time is flying like this, right? So we have Cassia. Can you share with us the best practice you have witnessed as mindset in terms of S&OP process management? And what should we retain from it as a key learning?
See, I think for me, I think one of the most effective S&OP processes was when there was a very minimal discussion on the short term, okay, just to gauge and to sense what's happening in the short term, and not to have a lot of debate and discussion about it, but just to come with the facts, the assumptions, what went well, what needs to be improved, and that's it. But then focus really on the long term. This is where it really worked well, and it was very productive, and it was looking at the right horizon in terms of duration, but also looking at the right granularity. So we're not talking about SKUs or talking about even brands. It was really about categories, countries, okay, and looking at the hotspots. And managers, directors used to come ready in advance with their analysis, okay, and with their opportunities and their solutions, okay. And then that meeting, it was a forum to discuss these solutions and to agree on the actions and to take decisions and move on. Instead of some of the non-functional S&OP meetings that I attended also sometimes, where it was getting at the customer level, SKU level, month level, and then forgetting the big picture, which was really long term, and it was about sometimes spending the whole day without any thing which was agreed, okay? So it's really, I think, when we focus the right granularity, the right horizon, and people are prepared and come to the meeting to discuss solutions, what are the conflicts that needs to be addressed, and the decisions that needs to be taken, I think this is when S&OP becomes really functional.
So seriously, I would say thank you so much for the amazing value that you give it to us today. I've learned a lot from your amazing journey. It's a very valuable session today, and the amazing information that we have, it's too much contagious. I would like to thank you for your time, and I believe any of our audience, if you want anything related to sales, supply chain, and I'm saying sales also, please don't hesitate directly to speak to Faisal Khan. I'm telling you, amazing values, amazing coaching, behaviors, all of this. Please, so don't hesitate. Thank you so much, Faisal, and thank you, Ahmed. And I would like
thank you, Faisal.
Our lovely audience who came and engaged. It's a pleasure to have you. Just to remind you, we are here to build an empire of community, real community where we will be able to share stories, knowledge, experience, and struggles together so we can overcome it. Thank you again, Faisal. We hope that we can see you even very, very soon, inshallah.
Thanks a lot to both of you for a great session, and thanks for the audience as well for the great questions. And really glad to see so many people that I worked with and new ones. So it's really great and great questions and very engaging session. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank
and
you
we'll see you
so
again.
much. And I'll see you. Thank you.